Nahao, good morning. Honey, bonjour. So we're going to get started now. Everybody had their breakfast or still finishing up, but we're going to start with our grand entry. Our drum is here, and so we can have our staff carriers. We got 3 carriers here, staffs. Only the staffs will come in, and the chiefs will follow the staffs in, go around the circle here, and come back in the middle. Our community flags, because of space, they're in the next room. They'll be standing there until Thursday when we're done. So they'll just stay there, and we'll just bring the Eagle staff and the leadership, and then the citizens come in and share the next 3 days with us. So we're ready to start, and the drums here. Miigwech.
So if all the chiefs could meet us outside in the foyer where we're going to do the grand entry where all the chiefs come in.
was watching that because I work in Atlanta, so I Fetterman, and then I well, of course, we still got the runoff down here in Georgia, but I was still in the three previous states. What's
Not over in Georgia. Glad, thanks to whoever gave you the tell.
I am disgusted with our politics. This the notion that we have to vote one way or the other on every subject don't have any effect upon my life. I'm not gonna get on.
Means a lot to a lot of folks.
Well, I think a couple things. Number one, choosing to be gay. Listen, I don't think anybody chooses.
Now, miigwech. I like to ang miigwech chalk when the kadege chik. Chinden jib all when the ninok kadege jikshinda. Mige nom enang jiat in the ude dang menadamagiat manda nikkei. Nishinsko zemi yat pane. Given both cheshe again in anome. After school nishin in the kiat nangusek. Basic nene. Geni ench bam chiking. Gimatra kungun meijak. Mijege giminani but menadamagets in the council fire edgadek. After school nishin tem gakwi gom on the washat gay no winadamagiat. I want to say thanks to the Toronto Council Fire Drum. They're from the Council Fire, the Nishnawbe building here that work, support, and stand with the Nishnawbe and our people that and the homeless that are in this city. They do good work. I stopped there just the other couple of weeks ago, and just to look and talking with the executive director there. And before I got home, when I got home, one of the young men that worked there and helped out when he can, the homeless ones, and was from my community, passed away. And so she called me and she said, "This is what we do when times like this are faced." And so they assisted in his service. And before I go on, I'd like to just ask all of us here to pause for. Let's pause for a few moments. I've been here since Sunday night, and we've had a lot of our citizens, family members passed away since Sunday night. We have a chief here who her sister passed away yesterday. When these happen and we're down here, it's tragic. There's a lot of questions are asked, but it's a choice. I know if someone that close to me, I'd make a call too. But I asked, and the one chief said in her community, in 6 months, there was 18 passings. We have a youth here this morning who shared his friends, taking our young ones taking their lives. It's murder-suicide, he said, and he's still here with us in strength. So if I can ask that we think of our communities as we're down here, and if you do need to go, again, it's we should be there, that close to our family members. So let's take a moment and reflect and think of our members, miigwech.
It's been a huge success. Their efforts help provide more than 75 million meals.
Thank you, Claire. This year,
Oh, miigwech. I'd like to share this real quick.
coming this Saturday and Sunday, where it's
One of our elders in my community, she passed a couple of weeks ago. She reached 101.
Together,
Great.
we always.
And over the years, right up to now, till I tell my story, we've always hear, is it written down? Is it on paper? And once it's written in stone, that's it, that's final. Well, my elder changed that thinking, and that belief, to me anyway, because when her husband died, Norman, they had a headstone, Norman DeBosque, 19, born, past 19, Elizabeth, born 1921, and then 19 blank. Well, she outlived that blank. So she outlived that, what was written in stone. So I thought that was kind of comical, talking to the family. So let's not get fooled. If it's written in stone, it can be changed. Again, I want to say miigwech gets it. Harvey Bell, nango kinatumaget in sakniging shebashinda. Our elder Harvey Bell for opening up this morning for us. I want to say miigwech. So yabe go much time go to look quest ma ge no mabuk que Donna to been talking to get. Donna will help us with the opening prayer. We're off on a good start here this morning, miigwech.
How Bushel? Just as we're sitting, Bushel baby quedang di go nisha be quendao gi go do de ma we shi ke gi ni gi no magna. Shin na im ni dom ni singi ni bin chabai kam kong bin jaji. Carbonation kade di gaben chik ni go am di gat nakiat git simak tok mesak mi shom sak. Paneshawan da kudak no mago me manda nai good on gis ni shna baby quick din jwa much time which monchi din magen questa din goche. Good on gis ni shna be. Devin get gi son ni shna be ne king gibet gon god in the dot so in shkoden de ke no den gibet was so mi nag den mi man pichkat mikang. Devin get gi mi nan get to in dog. Ni shna be no nag dojin nan den ni shwa sekna madwinen. Sag it win. Depoewin, Daden Moen, Bokawin, Baden Diswin, Quick Quatswin, Minoshakadewin. Eventually, Kimin will not dead the new winagdin ding. Winagdin dissing. Come not in Dana Abishwebak, Minonagmegwashebak, Minage Abewan Shwebak. Minoshanga quick hit Madan Nemewas, gay, Jabo much time. Miguechem, the dokin Kineo Miigwech, Nishomiskis give you was a shane, Nango. Miigwech, no quest big Jesus gave you was a shane in the cook. Miigwech got me quaggy me shang the matsu and gimme shange, me jem gimme shang and bish. Gimme shang we seek, me not gimme shang this seven. Sem man bagdina, wabnong, jawnong, epikish mock minashki wet nong. Nad mushin, Jimshko gabuya. Minokina Jimshko gabuing nango, minon na chesong de, the Miigwech chikiting, miigwech.
Now, miigwech Donna. Mana, well, miigwech Gimak. Nashinde, Kinen Snabek Koyok, represent Shat, Nash Gay not. The rules in the Algon Zoom, Asian Nakadek, Gay no Shay Yalk, Sinda, we do Kage Gimak. When goes gain Snaben Nosen, Bumedon, Chicken Gain Donji. The Nako Nimkin Gimak. My name's the Snabe name's Gwingos, and that was given by our elder, who did many things for us. His 1-year anniversary is on the 24th next week. So our thoughts, we miss him so much, but our thoughts and prayers are with their family when they gather next week for Chike and many things that he's, the most one that's always vivid with me is he was the one that started our stand-up elections instead of using paper and machine. So our thoughts are with them. So again, miigwech Donna in Sachen again. Nash gain shinden nungo Mount Jiding, Mississaugas of New Credit Inchbajik, Nash Six Nations of the Grand River Inchbajik gay no, we can in Anik Shimen Anik, miigwech cha gay no, shinden nungo Kweshka ding, Mina gay no Inchbaj. They miigwech to the Mississauga of New Credit, the chief and community and the chief Six Nations of the Grand. Being in their territory again, once again, here in Toronto. I want to say miigwech. Manda, Hazre Kungubun Gok. Manda Kawapski Ejik. Gay knock again, Bemidojik. Naquesco Nagi Inogek. Wabungs in the wee oak. Wuxedin Minim Gimak. Gagi no disqueak, Wabungs Kona, quick non at Bergneck. Then both try get Pizagi Achinda. Quiz Magagi no, and then make what can make Estigat Wundak. This past year we have been working collectively with the provincial and federal government. So there's lots of good things, there's some serious things, there's some concerning issues, and I ask our leadership, you chiefs, if you can stay back tomorrow at 5 o'clock, the Premier will be here himself. And I don't know how many ministers will be with him, but there'll be some ministers with him, and that will be your forum to Q&A him and see what he has for us. I don't know what to expect, because it's you chiefs that will be sitting with them and having a dialogue. The Chiefs of Ontario continue to advocate on education, justice, economic development under the Plan of Prosperity, Health, and Water. The Prosperity Economic Development, Chiefs, it's what we've been striving for years. And in all the years I've been here, I invited to 2 communities just recently on success. And one of them was the Hydro One project, where 6 of our First Nations in the Superior region actually signed legal documents, paper that they're partners of Hydro One. So I told Hydro One next time I go see them if there's any more additions to that, because we're partners there already. I hope at some near future we call that Hydro 2, because they won't be alone anymore. And Henby Inlet is the other one. I was there the other day on the opening of their windmills, their success in their community. I toured their community. That's what we want. That's what I've been hearing our leaders. All their roads in the community are paved. Subdivision is all paved. That's nice, brand new pavement. And they're going to have groundbreaking for their health center. That's partnership. And I thank the people that are with the community for their trust and their honest to our leadership to work within inside our communities now. We have had lots of challenges since our annual General Assembly, but we did not lose focus on the work that needs to continue here in Ontario. We were shared openly with the leadership what the Ontario Regional Chief has been doing to address the issues at the AFN in health and water. First Nation chiefs were advised of the status of the resolutions that were passed in July of 2022. Many chiefs asked about the resolutions that were not passed. We were advising the Ontario Regional Chief to continue to work collaboratively with the regional chiefs to look at the areas of concern and maintain an open and transparent dialogue with the regional chiefs. He asked that we look for solutions, and that's what we're looking for here today. Water is very important, I know, to us, and more so with the ones that are in boil water. I was at a large function in Niagara Falls not in September, and I told everyone in the room, Shaganashuk, that when it comes to our water in our communities that we can't use, they're so quick to blame climate change. But it is not. It's you, the people. It's them that come and ruin our waters. It's not climate change. That very trip to Niagara, following vehicles down, the driver different drivers threw out cigarettes. I seen it was already getting dark, and I seen the cigarettes go out, and a big forest fire. Thank God it didn't happen, but if it did, they probably would have blamed climate change. But it's the people. Plastic in the lakes, it's people, and it's us that suffer the consequences. So I took that time to, and many more real facts to share with them. Many chiefs, he asked, where am I here? A memo with the Ontario leadership was sent to the chiefs in Ontario with updates on the resolutions, and we continue to share openly and transparently with the regional chiefs our concerns of the resolutions and the terms of reference in which were shared with the AFN executive. We're moving along at the executive. We're doing work cautiously. The executive works well. We have a ways to go, but we're still there. We're moving things, and we'll keep you updated as we do move forward. It could only hopefully get better. So we'll keep you updated as that goes. And I'm jumping ahead of my where I'm at here, but on Thursday too, I asked you chiefs if we can stay Thursday morning at least till noon, because we're having a presentation by Regional Chief Woodhouse of Manitoba, the executive of AFN, on the update of the Child Welfare Compensation Package. As you've all heard by now, it took a turn on us the wrong way. We're trying to fix that turn. She has when I talked to her, she did say there was a glimmer of hope, put it back on track, but that's what the update and other updates will be shared with us on Thursday. So if you can stay back and ask some Q&A with her when she's here. Leadership Council noted that other items were being added to the Indigenous Services Canada and NIHB meetings with leadership, such as water legislation. We have been informed that the bi-weekly meetings of Indigenous Services Canada and NIHB will change its scope and there was 4 of them in regards to justice and policing. You know, we hear so much, we need education and we need to educate these people here. But I told them, I said, you forgot one where you haven't even talked about educating them individuals. And they are not gods. They're human beings just like us. And those are the judges that sit at the bench. I share that with passion because I experienced it 2 months ago when I went to court for my family. Someone said that's a human rights thing, the questions that was asked of me, and I told these ministers I will not pursue a human right concern or suit or whatever. I said I don't have the time of day for me to do that to you because I would lose anyway. But educate them. They're the ones that change lives to our people. If I hadn't spoke up the way I did, if I just said yes or no, I know most of our people would just say, oh, the hell with it. Yes or no. That's what they would say because they're intimidating. Her sitting there, the judge, I didn't let that happen. So I share that openly. Them judges need to be educated too. They have children too. Also, in my opening here, I was just, there's other couple points. I sat with the woman leadership last night. What am I going to hear there? So I was invited. Oh, it's where the women are coming from. They're basically what they're asking, what they want to ask of the men, us men, leader, not just leaders, all men, the partners of these women. When there's things going on for them, or if they want to be heard, they want the men to be, they want to see their men stand with them publicly, openly, supporting them. That's what I got from that meeting last night. And maybe if there's a protest somewhere or something, trafficking, you know, the fight against trafficking of our girls, our women, and they want to be heard, they'd like for us to stand with them openly, supporting them. There was many things, many other things, but that was the big one. They're asking for the men, for us, to support them. I hope there's no shutdown coming soon. It sounds like it again in the country, but at this point, it's still a choice. Whoever wants to take a shot, I have my 5 shots and my flu shot. I'm all shot up. So I sleep well, and I get up feeling good. Does it help me? I like to feel it does. I think it does. So I share that with you, but it is a choice. We don't want to go back there again, I don't think. So, again, so where am I now? Ooh, paper's flying now. So is Chief Reform here with us, Chief? Somebody from Mississauga, New Credit? Okay. Did you want to do opening on behalf of your community, or hey? Who's your brother? Where's your brother? Oh, well, he's coming up too. So Chief Hill? Welcome.
Okay, so Scano, Sagal, good morning, everyone. It's looks like it's gonna be a tight week in this room here. with each of you. I don't think we're gonna get much bigger than this. So good morning again. I first want to begin by acknowledging the words of our elder, Donna Dubosky, and starting us off in that good way, as well as acknowledging the Eagle staffs and the sacred items here present during our duration of such important topics. Another body that I'd like to recognize is the young people here, the Ontario First Nations Young People's Council. I've since graduated from them, but they know I do hold them in my heart high and look to support them in any possible way I can. I also want to welcome you all here today. I'm glad we had safe travels and that we are all well enough to be here. I believe there's some online as well, but again, want to acknowledge all of you here with us today as we discuss such important topics. One of the key messages, and again, I still don't, I know going back to, I still have an issue with land acknowledgement because I don't know what they mean. And so that's part of my struggle when coming to do these types of territorial welcoming remarks. It's because it's shared land and that we all have a duty to protect that shared land and to make sure that we're all looking at each other's resources and respecting that. Just really quickly, again, what I want to just acknowledge, and I know Regional Chief had mentioned a little bit in terms of some of the work that's happening in relation to the unmarked graves in residential schools. I know I've had the opportunity to speak with some of the chiefs here in the room in relation to the Mohawk Institute, as well as the Survivor Secretariat, which I'm sure majority is well aware of the work that's happening there. However, the biggest piece is that, you know, we've now come to a point where there's roughly about 28 other communities, including our community, that is involved alone in that school. And so, you know, our job is trying to make sure we're doing that reach out, trying to make sure that the leadership is well aware of the work that's happening. And again, it's going to take a long time to get to where we have to be, as majority know. Again, it's the longest and oldest running school in the country. And we've recognized through the work of the Secretariat that there is many acres to be searched, roughly 500 acres to be exact. And so that work is going to continue. However, we want to make sure we're bringing in those necessary communities who are all impacted. So I wanted to just start off with that and note that. The other piece I wanted to also just mention in relation to the opening here is the agenda itself. And I know, again, part of, I've had my own struggles as well, just based upon, you know, how we do work and what these assemblies are about. And so one of my pieces that I wanted to just share is, you know, when building out these types of agendas, and again, want to acknowledge all the staff at the Chiefs of Ontario, because I know it takes a lot to put these forums on. But again, part of it is to have progression. Part of it is to have the dialogue, but to come up with decision points as we now go into and prepare for the National Assembly next month. So some of those key pieces, and I know there's a number of hot topics on the agenda throughout this week. Look forward to the dialogue, look forward to the discussion, but also look forward to the action that each of our communities need to take, especially when we have to, you know, look to a collective and what the position is in Ontario on certain items. So those, again, are my welcoming comments. I do appreciate the opportunity to be with you all. I look forward to conversing with all of you throughout the week. And again, there's a number of important topics, and I'm sure I'll be on the mic to speak to those other concerns that I have within those. So with that being said, Nyama, for the opportunity, thank you, and look forward to this week.
No, miigwech, gima. So you asked, I don't know why I come up here to acknowledge, but I do reflect a couple of times when I was chief at home, and I heard a chief came by and I said, what? How come you didn't call me first? So I think that's why we acknowledge that we're here, let you know we're doing big business in your front door here. So much papers, I got them all mixed up myself. So I'm looking for a motion, a mover and a seconder. Mrs. Are you going to speak? Welcome. No, if you want. This way. Where are you going?
Thank you, Regional Chief. It's always my pleasure to welcome people to our traditional homelands, and I share with Chief Mark Hill the same views. The land acknowledgement question, when we all share the land specifically, And as I reflected this morning, over the last 30+ years, I've been around the Chiefs' assemblies and seeing the changes that we see today. I came up in the 90s, the late 80s and 90s under fighters, real fighters, and guys that would pound the table about our issues. And reflecting back over those years, we have, when we've had resistance to Chiefs en masse here in Ontario, we would lead downtown in Toronto. All the issues, we shut the streets down in Toronto. I miss those days when it comes to our issues. Somebody said in our community at Mississauga to the credit, one of our elders said that political correctness makes liars out of us every day. She said that in a public forum when government officials were there. And I happen to agree with her, because we got to be real on our issues today. And I'm seriously concerned about the future of our communities. Younger generation coming behind us. Maybe we haven't done a good job at mentoring our younger generation to be able to take the reins with respect to where we are today and how we move into the future. And I respect the fact, as Chief Mark Hill had said, the work that all of our organizations do. I acknowledge that. Chiefs of Ontario staff, our PTO staff, our community level staff, I understand that. And with respect to governments that are dealing with issues that really affect us on a day-to-day basis. Like yesterday, we had the conversation on Bill 23. What do we do with Bill 23? Because that's a serious issue for our First Nations. Maybe we need to en masse, as 133 chiefs in this province, be on the front door of Queen's Park, just like the education folks and teachers were last week. So I guess I'm challenging us, regional chief and grand chiefs and chiefs, that I've walked in your shoes so many times, and still my honor today to work with Caldwell First Nation, one of the most promising urban reserves in the country, in Ontario. And we're trying to do what's right. And with respect to all of the future opportunities that Chief Hare talks about this morning on Hydro One lines and transmission and all the energy files and the green energy files, we have an opportunity to be real partners on the business front. We have opportunities to leave a lasting legacy financially for our communities. And it really begs us to challenge ourselves with respect to how we get in that circle and how we get to yes on the business front. So I'm challenged today myself personally in our future, like I know you are. And if we don't take the bull by the horns, we may not get what we need to get for the future of our communities. So I'm here working with you. I want to help the chiefs. I want to be a positive push to deal with our issues that we need to deal with and bring these guys to the table and see things our way. So miigwech, Regional Chief, miigwech to everyone for visiting our traditional homelands in Mississaugas. I see the Mississauga chiefs over here this morning. I said, boy, there's 4 of them that I meet right off the bat, really trying to retake our homelands back. Miigwech. Right. He wants me to take a picture with the regional chief, I guess.
Okay.
I love it.
So every now and again, I'll put in some comments and just to share. I stopped in to visit one of our former chiefs who was a mover and a shaker in our assemblies and wherever we met him, and that's Chief Roy Machano. He's been in the hospital now for 5 years, but he looks. I want to show you. He's got dementia. He's happy. He looks like Roy as you remember him, And I was glad I stopped by. So I just wanted to share that. And we have other leaders who are suffering, but as I meet them, I'll share with you. But I just want to share that Roy's in his world, but he's having fun. Miigwech. So now I need to call a resolution to formally adopt the rules and procedures of our assembly. They're in our books, and we've seen them many times. If I need to read them, I have to have a chair here, but I got no chair, so. And code of conduct. So if I can have a mover to our rules and procedures and code of conduct, can I have a mover for that, please? Oh, this. Veronica Smith. Who's the other? Shawanaga. All in favor? Opposed? I see none. And we also have leadership on Zoom, also online, and then some, I imagine there's citizens and observers online also. So now I need a resolution to formally adopt the speakers that we have with us this week. Here, and there's 3 of them here. Adam Fiddler, Leslie Wadeye, Karen Davis. So I need if I can have a mover to officially adopt our speakers for this week. Chief Caldwell, Chief Rickard, yeah, Tiganzibe. All in favor? Miigwech. Names I got to get here, but at least I know your community, which is a plus, I hope. So, I turn it over to you, Chair. Don't cry. Are you crying? Wipe it.
Miigwech, thank you. And stem gananakum wenogum agjebag nanachmamando. Miigwech madegan kagipachnang egomina exchehag agipachnang miigwech. Dawisho indagwan wenogum gawimawechidnano. So with that, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of our co-speakers and our youth co-speaker. Miigwech, thank you for the opportunity to join. We've got a packed agenda, a lot of items, a lot of issues to deal with over the next 3 days. So with that, I'm going to get right into it. First of all, I have to deal with some administrative and procedural matters just to get started. Right off the bat, was noted it is quite cramped in here, elbow room only. We do have the overflow room across the hall. And so what we're asking is that in the assembly room here, that it only be, that priority is chiefs and official delegates. So we'd like chiefs and official delegates to, we want to make sure you have a seat. If we have guests, observers, we do have the space across in the, I can't even remember the name of the room, but across the hall we have the overflow room. The Alexander room, thank you. So again, a reminder, if you are here as an observer, if you're in the room, nobody wants to kick you out, but I'm going to kick you out unless you're a chief or an official delegate. If you see a chief standing around and there are no seats, please, priority is chiefs and delegates. Thank you very much. And again, in the overflow room, there is a screen and we can watch the assembly. As well, the resolution that was just carried, or the motion that was just carried to adopt the rules of procedure. Everybody did get the rules of procedure in the emails leading up to the assembly. It is in your kits, so you all have access to it. Recently, there were some changes that were made, and I'd just like to highlight some of those changes because they are important. They may become a factor in the assembly today. So first of all, on urgent resolutions. So again, there was a resolution deadline that was November the 8th. If you wanted resolutions presented at this assembly, you had to have them in by November the 8th. Now, anything that happens after November the 8th there is a criteria for urgent resolutions, and it's under section 3F of the resolution policy. And again, the resolution policy is referred to in the rules of procedure, so that's what you've adopted already. But section 3F, so I'm going to read this. It says, urgent resolutions are proposed resolutions arising from facts or events that take place between the resolution deadline and the first day of the assembly. So anything that happened between November the 8th and today, if the facts relevant to the resolution were known before the resolution deadline, it will not be considered an urgent resolution. Urgent resolutions must also include all supporting documents and have an impact on all First Nations in Ontario. So that is where we would allow urgent resolutions to be tabled, presented at this assembly. Now, having said that, we used to have a second resolution deadline. Sometimes it would be on the second day, a certain time. There was a second resolution deadline. We no longer have that, so there is no other opportunity to bring forward any new resolutions. However, there is a section dealing with late resolutions. So the way it works is, if you have a late resolution, if you miss the resolution deadline on November the 8th, chiefs or delegates, you have the option of asking the assembly. So it would be the assembly's decision. You can entertain a motion, you can make a motion, you can move to have a resolution brought forward. I would need a seconder, and then we would add it to the agenda. It won't be dealt with right then and there, but we'd have a vote to accept and whether we would entertain that resolution. So that would be the process. The challenge to that is the resolutions team will not be able to review the resolution. So normally resolutions are reviewed. There is a resolutions team, there's a legal review just to make sure that everything's okay. If we do that, it sort of leaves them out, and we leave that decision to you, chiefs. This is your assembly, this is your floor, but if you wish to entertain any further resolutions, that would be your decision. But again, a mover would need to make that presentation and explain why the resolution needs to be looked at. So just wanted to touch base on that. A couple of other things, changes. So the resolutions committee, there was an update on the membership of the resolutions committee. So that's in Schedule A, Section 2, and we now have representatives from each of the PTOs, IFN, and unaffiliated First Nations that want to participate in the resolutions committee. So we do have representation across Ontario. Also on the draft resolution criteria, Section 3A, I'm going to read this. It's important because we can't be entertaining resolutions without knowing all the information. So what it says is all supporting documents referenced in the draft resolution must be submitted along with the resolution unless the document is publicly available. A resolution requesting the Assembly to endorse or support a particular document will not be placed before the Assembly unless the complete and unabridged version of the document is attached to the draft resolution. So again, we need all the information if you have any resolutions that you're bringing forward. Another change, the in-camera policy. The reason I want to make sure that this is emphasized is we will be going in camera several times over the next 3 days. So the new in-camera policy reads, number 1, at any time a chief or proxy can request that an agenda item goes in camera. The speaker will ask for a seconder and consensus on a motion to go in camera, so that'll be done on the floor. Number 2, in camera is defined as including the following groups. So when we go in camera, the following can stay in the room. First Nation chiefs and proxies, Chiefs of Ontario Leadership Council, including the Deputy Grand Chiefs, the Ontario Regional Chief, the Office of the Ontario Regional Chief, Chiefs of Ontario Chief Operating Officer, the Elders Council representatives, Youth Council representatives, Women's Council representatives, and relevant Chiefs of Ontario sector directors as determined by the Ontario Regional Chief. So even Other Chiefs of Ontario staff would have to leave the room. So with that, those are the ones that are allowed to stay in the room. This is another change. So if you have legal counsel appointed by chiefs and proxies, if you have legal counsel that you would like to stay in here, you need to make a motion to ask and request the assembly that they be allowed to stay in the assembly. So that'll be done on a case-by-case basis. So we're trying to clean up, again, in camera to make it clear. Sometimes in the past, there's been challenges, who's in the room, who's out. Having said that, one other point, again, we have the commissionaires at the front, at the doors. We used to have police officers. We do now have Chiefs of Ontario staff that are maintaining that function. So we ask you to please respect them. They have rules to follow. I know one of the rules still that we have is you need to be double vaccinated. I believe that's Chiefs of Ontario policy until 31st, December 31st of this year. That still is in place. So they're just following the rules. So we ask you please respect the commissioners that are watching the doors, just to make sure that we have proper enforcement of the requirements. But going back to the in-camera session, any documents that are disseminated during an in-camera session, they have to be considered confidential. So any documents that are not in the public domain, that are reviewed in camera or developed in camera, they stay confidential to the group that is in the room only. If chiefs, if you would like to have those documents shared openly, we would need a motion with a seconder to allow the documents to basically come out of being confidential and be able to be shared in the public. So we would need a resolution. Other than that, in the meantime, any documents dealt with in camera are confidential. So those are just some housekeeping matters. Question over here. Actually, just for the record, because we're on Zoom, if we can get you to the microphone, please. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks for the update. Just wondering how you're going to take care of Zoom chiefs and other participants. Was anything changed there too?
Yes.
Because I didn't hear you speak to it.
Yes, sorry, I will explain that. So during the Zoom, what will happen is the live feed across the hall will be turned off. Doors will be closed. In the Zoom, we are able to select, and we actually have chiefs that are logged in. So we will make sure that it is only official delegates and chiefs that are logged in. Everybody else will be logged off. And the YouTube. So the other announcement, I mean, I think everybody's aware that we do have the YouTube channel. So the assembly is being broadcast publicly. That'll be turned off. So we will make sure that virtually it is chiefs only. Thank you for that question. Any more questions on so far? We've got 4 more pages of administrative stuff here. I think our co-speaker is going to pull me off here pretty soon. But I'm just looking at the time. It's now 9:40. So at this point, I'd like to officially call the meeting to order. It is 9:40. The reason the time is important is in the rules of procedure, 15 minutes after call to order, we will have a tally. We'll take a look at numbers, and that will establish quorum. So that'll be determined in 15 minutes with the number of delegates that we have registered. The other thing, having said that, you'll probably notice on your lanyards, there's a nice map of the assembly room. There's also a QR code. I don't know if it's it's QR code, I believe, on the back of your lanyards. So Chiefs of Ontario is trying something different. It actually, I don't think it's being done today, but what we will be doing moving forward, or trying, is they'll scan it at the door, and we'll get a very quick count of how many delegates we have in the room. So it makes it very simple, very easy, so we can establish quorum, know how many registered delegates are in the room. I don't think it's happened today, but moving forward, that's something that we're trying. So just so you're aware, that's if they ask to scan your lanyard when you walk in, that's the purpose of that. So either in the next couple of days or at the next assembly. So it just makes things easier. So at this point, I'd like to continue on now that we've called the meeting to order. Microphone 2. Chief King, go ahead.
Hello, good morning. Chief King Kiasagi, Anishinaabe Columbia First Nation. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you talked about the adoption of the agenda yet. I know you talked about, have you done that yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll wait till you.
Okay.
I have a question on that.
Thank you.
for a minute.
Good,
Thank you.
Chief King. So again, I have 4 more pages to go through. I'll try and do it quickly. But again, as we've opened, I'd like to acknowledge again the elder, the drum. Thank you for the opening. And we realize that many of you have taken time in your own ways with the elders, the knowledge keepers, to make sure that we have a good session. We have a good 3 days, and also back home that people are able to listen in. And we've all done things in our own ways to make sure that we do this in a good way. And I'd like to acknowledge that. Also, Chief Hill talked about the land acknowledgement. But it's the right thing to do, and I'd like to acknowledge, as Chief Hill said, it's a shared territory. So I'd like to acknowledge the shared territories, the Mississaugas of the Credit, 6 Nations of the Grand River, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat. I'd like to acknowledge and say miigwech. And of course, we're on virtually across Ontario, and would like to say miigwech and acknowledgement to our shared territories across the province. And again, joining virtually, we're happy that people are able to join in. Of course, we'd like to welcome the elders that are here, the knowledge keepers. In person, we have Elder Barney Batiste from Nan, Elder Harvey Bell, Donna DeBasigi, Patricia Oakes, Norma General Liquors, Dave Root, and I think that's who we have in person. We also have virtually Olive Elm, Elder Don Jones, and I would like to acknowledge the knowledge keepers that are with us. Also, a priority, like to acknowledge our sponsor, First Nations Major Projects Coalition. So a big miigwech to the sponsor. Again, First Nations Major Projects Coalition. Also, Chiefs, you should have gotten kits. I'm just looking around. I know you probably don't have the full binder, but on your email, you should have gotten the Chiefs kits leading up to the assembly. You should have all that information. If you don't have the information, all the material is on the website, www.chiefsmeeting.com. You can also, if you're joining virtually, you can ask for the link in the chat. In fact, I'm going to recommend we put it in the chat box on the Zoom session. If you're having any technical issues, either here or logging in, you can email, there's an email address here, meetingsupport@coo.org. So meetingsupport@coo.org. Anytime during the assembly, just email that address and they'll help you out with any technical issues. Also, the resolutions team, I'd like to acknowledge the resolutions team for this assembly. Again, we have representation from the various PTOs. So in this, for this assembly, we have Carmen Jones with Chiefs of Ontario, Zachariah General, Chiefs of Ontario, who I believe is joining virtually, Krista Yao, legal support from Najuan Law, Alice Longboat with Chiefs of Ontario, Diane Miracle with Independent First Nations, Kevin Restool with Anishinaabe Nation, Sydney Miracle with AI, Luke Hunter with Anishinaabe Nation, and I believe, I'm not sure if we have a representative from Treaty 3. Look behind me, but I'm not sure. But again, it is available for Treaty 3 representation. Just a reminder, voting on resolutions. We do have a number of resolutions, a number of votes during this assembly. It'll be done here in person. And again, I have to acknowledge that we have delegates joining virtually, and I often forget, I have to slow down. So bear with us when it comes time to vote. We have a tablet here. We're monitoring online. But just a reminder, if you're joining by Zoom, we have directors that are counting. We also have 3 directors that are counting here in the meeting room. If you're joining by Zoom, again, to raise or to vote, hit the raise hand button. Anybody joining by phone, I'm not sure that we do, but that option is there. Again, *9 to raise your hand if you're joining by phone. And again, I know that the staff have been really working hard, Chiefs of Ontario staff, Regional Chief's office as well, working hard to make sure that we have a good session. And we ask for your patience as we continue through virtually. And I know it's a cramped room, but again, and I see still some chiefs in the back. We will allow chiefs and proxies in the room, make sure that the priority in the room here is for them. And also another note, the YouTube channel. So if you don't have the link, you can access the YouTube stream at chiefsmeeting.com or youtube.com/Chiefs of Ontario. So that is available for community members back home or anywhere for that matter that want to watch the discussions and listen to the debate on the issues that you'll be dealing with. And again, as Regional Chief indicated, we will be having Premier Doug Ford here tomorrow from 5 to 7 o'clock. That'll be in the overflow room across the hall. So what's going to happen is, unfortunately, tomorrow, because we need the room for when the Premier and the Cabinet Ministers are here, we're going to have everybody vacate the overflow room, probably about 3 o'clock tomorrow. Unfortunately, so they won't be able to join, or observers won't be able to listen in, but we will be getting ready for the Premier, and everybody here is invited. Again, we don't know which cabinet ministers, but we do have cabinet ministers that will be here as part of that meeting. So tomorrow, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So with that, those are some of our housekeeping issues. So I'm going to get to the agenda. So we have the agenda here. It is in your kits. We have the agenda for the next 3 days. I won't go through yesterday's sessions. There were internal meetings and some dialogue sessions yesterday. But the agenda starting today, of course, 6 a.m., the sunrise ceremony with Elder Harvey Bell. And I just want to make sure that we're aware of that happens every morning at 6 a.m. And I believe it happens in here, okay, right in the room. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware, 6 a.m. So I am going through the agenda. I will require a mover and seconder and then open up for discussion on the agenda. 7 a.m. Breakfast is provided, registration opened. 8 a.m. the trade show opens. That's happening out in the open area. 8:30 a.m. in the assembly room, we had the grand entry. The Toronto Council Fires All Nations Drum Group. The opening prayer with Elder Donna Debasagi Miigwech. The welcoming remarks from the Ontario Regional Chief Glenn Hare. Territorial remarks with Chief Mark Hill, Six Nations of the Grand River. And we had the representation from Mississauga of Credit First Nation, so Miigwech for that. The adoption of the rules and procedure and the code of conduct, of course, as part of that is the resolutions process. We had the adoption of the speakers, myself, Adam Fiddler, speakers Leslie White-Eye and Kieran Davis, and then the adoption of the agenda. 9:15, we're running behind, but 9:15 we have listed the update from the Office of the Ontario Regional Chief and the Chiefs of Ontario Leadership Council. 10 o'clock, we will go in camera. There is a resource development, Trans-Canada Pipeline revenue sharing discussion. That'll be led by Kathleen Padullo, Chiefs of Ontario Director of Environment, and Kate Kempton with OKT. 12 o'clock, we have a recognition of Brandy George. So that'll take about 15 minutes. We'll stop, but we'll do that here, and then we'll take a break and have lunch after that. At 1 o'clock today, the Matawa Chiefs Council has a mining presentation. 1:30, we'll get into resource development, the mining panel and discussion. That'll be introduced, I believe, by Arvind Sharma, Chiefs of Ontario Director of Economic Development. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here, but we will have a panel discussion. We'll aim for a break, 2:30, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how things go with the panel discussion. 2:45, we will continue that panel discussion on mining and resource development. 3:30, the First Nations Major Project Coalition, and we'll have Jesse McCormick, Senior Vice President, Research, Innovation, and Legal Affairs. 3:45, the Elders and Youth Reflections. We'll have Elder Barney Batiste and Janine Frog with the Ontario First Nation Young People's Council. And then we'll close for the day. A couple of meetings that are listed on the agenda for tonight. Chiefs Committee on Economic Development, the Chiefs Committee on Environment, and the Chiefs and Technical Committee on Languages and Learning. So that'll be tonight at 6 o'clock. Day 2, get right into it, 6 o'clock again, the sunrise ceremony. We'll have the hot breakfast is provided 7 a.m. The registration opens, trade show opens at 8 a.m. At 8:30, we'll have the council updates, and the First Nations Women's Council will make their updates, and the Ontario First Nation Young People's Council will also provide an update on work since the last assembly. We don't have the Elders Council listed here. The Elders Council has not met since the last assembly, and so will not be providing an update. 10 a.m., we have the Environment Drinking Water legislation. Again, Kathleen Padulo, Director of Environment for Chiefs of Ontario. 11 a.m., the Economic Development update with the Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians, AIAI, Grand Chief Joel Abram presenting or leading the presentation. Of course, he is the chair of the Chiefs Committee on Economic Development. And again, Arvind Sharma, Director of Economic Development, who will be joining virtually. At 12 o'clock, again, 15 minutes, Data Champion Advisory Committee introductions, and then we'll step out, grab our food. Lunch will be provided. So we'll take a 45-minute break. 1 o'clock, the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure, Housing Options Paper Resolution to be confirmed, it says. So we may have a resolution as part of that. That'll be led by Chief R. Don Maracle, Chair of the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure, as well as Chris Hoyos, Director of Policy and Communications at Chiefs of Ontario. At 2 o'clock, the Assembly of First Nations update on long-term reform. That'll be Stuart Watke, AFN Legal, and Stephanie Wellman, AFN Social Director. We'll have a short break. 3 o'clock in camera, again, another in-camera session. This one on long-term reform, child welfare negotiations. We'll have Ruby Miller, Director of Social Services, as well as Maggie Wente with OKT, and Sinead Dearman, also with OKT. So that's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Again, every day we've allowed for resolutions. 4 o'clock, we will have resolutions. 4:45, the Elder and Youth Reflections. We've got Elder Barney Batiste and Ariel Berwick with the Ontario First Nations Young People's Council. And of course, again, a reminder, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, the reception with the Premier, Doug Ford, as well as several cabinet ministers. That'll be across the hall. So that's day 2. Where's day 3? 6 a.m., Thursday, November 17th, 6 a.m., we'll have the sunrise ceremony. Again, hot breakfast at 7 o'clock, 8 a.m. the trade show opens. 9 a.m. there will be a dialogue session on child welfare and Jordan's principal. We'll have, that'll be led by Ruby Miller, Director of Social Services. And 11 a.m. we'll have the education sector update on languages and post-secondary education with Julia Candlish, Director of Education. 12 o'clock lunch will be provided. 1 o'clock resolutions. At 3 p.m. we'll start wrapping up with Elder and Youth Reflections, Elder Barney Batiste and Caitlin Peters. 3:15 we'll have the closing prayer and closing ceremony with Elder Pat Oakes. So that's Thursday, day 3 at 3:15. So we do have the draft agenda. We'd like to open it up for discussion, but first I need a mover and a seconder. Once we have a mover and seconder, and then we will open it up for discussion. So, Chiefs, there you have it, draft agenda. Do I have a mover? And if you can state your name and your nation, please, your First Nation. I have a mover. Thank you. Bob Chiblo. Miigwech. Seconder, I see 2 hands up. Do you want to arm wrestle? Right, Chief Perot. Okay, we'll give Chief Perot Kujijing. So we have a mover and seconder. So discussion on the agenda. Microphone 2.
Chief Wilfred King, Kiasagi, Anishinaabe, Gulby First Nation. I noticed that the agenda has changed since the draft, and what I see here today is that there's no item for introducing resolutions for today's agenda. And I see that you have the first time to entertain resolutions is at 4 o'clock in tomorrow's session. And unfortunately, I might not be here for that part of the agenda, and I definitely won't be here on Thursday. Gulby First Nation is entertaining a very important resolution, and I ask for the indulgence of the Chiefs Assembly if the Gulby resolution be entertained a little early just to accommodate our needs. This resolution is a support resolution, and it's dealing with anti-Indigenous police racism in Ontario, in particular the Ontario Provincial Police. I'm not sure if some of you have read, but there was an incident where a young man was taken on a Starlight tour, a young man from Mishkigo Gaming First Nation from the Nan Territory, and he was found by one of our constables. So this is an important resolution as it relates to policing and racism in Ontario, and I'm asking that I do have a seconder. It's the Chief R. Don Miracle of the Mohawks of Bay of Quinte, and I knew if I had him as a seconder, you guys would agree. Just kidding.
Thank you very much, Chief King. So what we'll do is we'll add on day 1 resolutions after the 3:30 item. So we have First Nations Major Projects Coalition, and then right after that, 3:45, we'll do resolutions.
Is it okay if the Gully resolution is the first on the queue, if you don't mind?
I believe we have a certain order already, but we'll look to the resolutions team and we'll see what we can do. We'll try and accommodate that.
Don't forget Don is the seconder.
I'm getting it both ways here. Thank you. So we'll, that's one change, one amendment. The mover okay with the slight change? Thank you. Seconder, Chief Perot, you're okay with that? All right, thank you. Microphone 2.
I just wanted to question, when we're doing the updates, is there decision points within those updates? Does anybody know that?
With the resolutions.
Like per update, is there a decision point for each? The reason I asked that question, and I know it's been kind of set to the resolutions towards the end of assembly, but just over the years, and to even Chief King's point, a lot of the chiefs are heading back or have other business. So I just wonder, sometimes I think we're doing things a little bit backwards, where we should be, focusing on the resolutions first and foremost and making decision points as quick as we can. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Chief Hill, for that. Just consulting with the staff, and we do have a number of agenda items where a decision will need to be made and has a resolution. So we will look at that as having the resolution dealt with right then and there for those items that have resolutions ready. So we will look at that. So thank you. We will have resolutions right after those specific items. Thank you. Microphone 4.
Can we have request to have Bill 23 added to the agenda just for a discussion? I think it's important to have this discussion with knowing all the legislation it's going to affect, and that will include our traditional and treaty areas.
Thank you very much. So we're just consulting and trying to figure out when's the best time. So we'll add it to on day 2, right after the 10 a.m. Presentation on the drinking water legislation. So we'll add that, and we'll try and get some of the technical support to come in and make that presentation and have a discussion. So thank you. So that'll be added again right after 10 a.m. Bill 23, that's what you're looking at? Okay. Mover, you're okay with it? You're okay with adding that? Seconder? Very good. Thank you. Very good. Any more discussion on the agenda? And again, chiefs, if you have a comment, come up to the microphone. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Floor is open. Second call. Any more discussion, debate, comments on the agenda? This is your agenda, chiefs. Third and final call. Any more discussion on the agenda? There's only a motion, right? There's only a motion, right? Not a resolution? It's a resolution. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Questions being called. I'll start with all in favor. Please raise your hand. All in favor. Get some exercise. Thank you. Any opposed? I see none. Oh, I forgot. I've got to monitor the Zoom. So where's Megan? Give me a nudge. Any opposed? I see none. Any abstentions? I see none. So the resolution is carried. We do have the agenda that is now finalized. So thank you very much. Just one more note. So we did have the call to order, and the number that we have registered is 51 chiefs in person in the room, and online we have 10. So we have 61 chiefs. And so therefore, the quorum for passing resolutions will be 50% plus 1 of that number, 61. Okay, just another administrative note. There's a Wi-Fi password. If you want to connect to Wi-Fi, I believe it's called Marriott Conference, and the Wi-Fi password is 22022. That should be fairly easy. 22022. Marriott Conference, that's the Wi-Fi password. So with that, let's get that guy off the podium. I'm going to turn it over to youth speaker Kieran Davis to introduce the next item. Miigwech.
I'd like to invite Ontario Regional Chief Harrod to provide update on what the COO Political Office and Leadership Council has been working on.
Oh, miigwech. I just caught that what our speaker just said. I'd like to invite our youth speaker to introduce the next item. I guess I'm an item. Well, again, miigwech, kina, gemak, nas genom chige ejection da. Ni ngagin dan geni mandap senagan. Kabinet kiang wanda geno and kitage jageno. Gatin gan na kitamot. Nimna sinne na kinte magat. So, lagin dance manda. Tam wagin ma binochiak nake. So first, I want to give an update of what we've been doing as your ORC and my staff, but also the staff, the secretariat and all. There's a lot of work that we're going to present here and unfinished work. So I'll begin with social, a quick update on it. So we've been working to get the parties together to see what we can negotiate to get a child welfare agreement on track. We have a session that I recommend you attend to get answers to your questions on what is happening, where are we now, and how will this impact our First Nation children. We have received concerns about Jordan's principal application and the process that they want to know the process that is taking place. Our social director, Ruby Miller, will be at the session and can assist with your questions at that time. Environment developed a resolution at the AFN Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure that included water legislation and co-development. I stated at the ISK 2022 Ontario Joint Gathering that co-development means with us, not for us. We will ensure the resolution is shared with all the First Nations leadership as it will be sent to ISK Minister Hadu. Our Environment Director, Kathleen Perlula. Oh, now I lost her. Oh, and Policy Director Chris Hoyes can answer the questions you may have on this file. Our position has not changed since the last resolution. Water is a priority for our First Nations. Attached in my report to AFN on the water portfolio that I have been working on. I attended the 50th Annual Great Lakes Public Forum in Niagara Falls and see the need to clean up our waters. The Chiefs of Ontario had passed a water declaration and we need to develop action on those words. Ken Doswin, education. We have a resolution that is coming forward before you all to rejoin the AFN. Please attend the sessions, and if you missed it, then contact our Education Director, Julie Candish, as it will impact K-12 and post-sec students. We have to address our concerns, as our elders say, from the cradle to the grave. Learning never stops, and we will want to get our curriculum in the education system, and we need to work with the Minister of Education to start this process of discussion. Nakin, economic development. We have been meeting with the chiefs, and today's meeting will deal with the mining and forestry resource discussions today. We have an outstanding resolution that needs to be discussed and clarified before we can carry it forward. I understand that the 25 million was announced, that the 25 million that was announced. We look forward to working with all the First Nations in the sectors that were approved. The Economic Development Director, Arvin Sharman, has a report he will be presenting later on and can answer your questions also in this sector. Our political office, Ted Nolan, has been working with Arvin, and they are looking at the next steps in this area with the Chiefs Committee on Economic Development. Shkike, health. As we are dealing with the impacts of COVID-19, the flu virus, and the new subvariants, XBB, these will impact our First Nations. our Health Director, Toby Mitchell, has been working with the Chiefs Committee on Health and has been attending the updates and can answer any questions we may have on the health issues. We continue to deal with the resolutions on the NIHB concerns, and our Health Director will have more in her report. I am concerned that the update to you chiefs from IST has started to share other information than COVID-19, and we stated our concern to the outgoing IST RDG Ann Scutton and to the acting RDG Michelle O'Brien. The Kinge Gang research. We have been asked for some housing data and to assist with homelessness data from the AFN. Our research director, Carmen Jones, will be providing an update on data management later on. We advise that the AFN at the recent Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure, the data homelessness is inaccurate. Numbers of reserve and off reserve do not match, to which they replied with the need to get help and get an accurate data. Data on the COVID and health will be provided by Health Director Toby Mitchell and Carmen Jones in their reports. I just want to say, if I can, in the housing sector, chiefs, and I've said this loudly because I purchased my home 12 years ago, and I already putting almost 60,000 into my home as of yesterday. Them homes are garbage, them modular homes. But it's your choice, but I'll never buy another one again. We took our, I think I buy, and maybe I'll say it here, maybe somebody will call me, I don't know, but the electrical panels are just dangling behind them walls. There's nothing protecting them if there was a spark. They are garbage. The siding is garbage. The walls are garbage. There's about 1 million staples holding up the walls on the modular homes. So I share that. I wish I never bought it, but it is what it is. But I want to share that loudly. And make sure when you do buy it, if you do, make sure it's Canadian made. Mine was originally came from Arizona somewhere. Wish I can take it back. Koyok, we met to discuss the concerns of the murdered and the missing and murdered women, girls, and LGBTQ2s, and we looked at the other areas of concern in the final report that needed to be looked at. We have successfully got funding from IST, and our Women's Initiative Director, Nancy Johnson, has a report that she will be sharing with you. Justice. We met recently with the tripartite collaborative table, and we discussed the federal, provincial, and First Nations issues in the areas of policing, being an essential service, and what the next steps should be. As First Nation leadership, we discussed the issues of concerns in the Métis and how it impacted our First Nations, and we will be discussing this later. Our Justice Acting Director, Jackie Lombardi, will be presenting her report on this later, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact her. Again, chiefs, I know we love our laws and bylaws we make for our communities to protect our communities and our citizens. I expressed my concern on this to the judge herself openly a couple of months ago on Zoom. I told the judge, I said, our police do their work, but when it gets in front of the judges here, that's where they stop. So stop saying out loud that our police don't do nothing. It's the system, it's this courthouse that stops that. I respect your laws at every place I go. We all do. We have to. It's time that they respect our laws, and we write them, not you. And that was right for me. I had the right, and I'm right sharing that to her. That was a woman, but then all the judges. I brought this up also with the justice ministers the other day. Donations. I am providing a brief summary of the work we have been working on this year, not to steal the Secretariat staff thunder, as they have much more detailed information to share. I wanted to let you know that we worked on providing food and health supplies to 3 flying communities that were hit hard by COVID-19 with the help of a philanthropist here in Toronto, Barry Green. Without their help, we could have not done this, and I hope we can continue to work with them in the future. We will donate the remaining amount to shelters in northern, central, and southern Ontario urban centers to help our homeless. A different donation was delivered to Thunder Bay to the homeless shelter. It was clothing, food, and toys. This will be the last donation in the clothing department that I've been doing for 15 plus years. It's just the people that were doing this for us, for our communities. They're 80 plus years old and they're tired out. So it's come to an end. But another door opened, and that's these philanthropists. And I toured that shelter house in where we took the donations in Thunder Bay. I was very saddened when they toured me. It looks nice outside, the Thunder Bay shelter home, but once you go inside, it's overcrowded. They were in there, but the kitchen, the food right now in this cold season, I said, how can you do this? That you're feeding these people outdated food. I said, do you eat that at home? None of us do. We look at dates. Why are they different? So it's small, but we are looking to do a little bit of help in that in the Thunder Bay in the near coming weeks, couple of weeks. I hope before Christmas, and we're looking at another one in the London Way at the shelter. But we need to do more, and I just had to share that because that's who we're working for. Also, when we're in our positions, I want to continue to support and work on advocating for you, First Nations leaders across the region. In the past year, I have committed to continue to focus on listening to you. I need to hear from you on existing mandates and Chiefs Committee. I want you to invite me to speak with you about the areas of interest and concern that will benefit your First Nation. I will always advise you, the leadership, when called upon to make decisions. I don't do this alone. We must work together. I will make a judgment call on the decisions we need. Your leadership, my leadership table, we work well together. I want to say miigwech to the leadership. And it's not hard to get a quorum. We do business for you, for your communities. So I just want to acknowledge the leadership for your commitment and the work that you do for our leaders in our communities. So I want to thank everyone here this week. When we head home, please be careful. Highways are now 6 lanes around here. There's getting more. On a closing note, a line. When we talk about housing again, I brought this up publicly with Minister Hadu. Like they talk so loudly, providing housing to new people coming into this country. And there's 500,000 more each year between now and 2025 to come into Ontario, Canada. I said to her, how is it they get housing before they land here? And look at us where we are yet. She snapped back at me. She said, well, I'm sorry you're anti-immigrant. Well, I'm not anti-immigrant. I just want houses for our people too, just like all of us. I want education for our kids. I don't know where they get the land when they land here. So I just wanted to share that also again. It did disturb me when she said that to me. She's supposed to be our voice, our support at these high levels. So if you hear me, Minister, if you want to clarify on that again, I'll be open to it. But I ain't anti-immigrant. We're not like that. Anishinaabe is not like that. So, miigwech, let's have a good week. And again, thank you for coming up. And on Zoom, all our people and leaders on Zoom. Miigwech.
Pujo, everyone. Thank you, and miigwech to Ontario Regional Chief Hare. You saw the overview of the important issues you're facing here in the Assembly over the next 3 days. Thank you, miigwech, for that. And you hear the heart that he brings, obviously, from not only his own community, but all the communities he's visited, and the hard work ahead of you in the next 3 days. So with that, I'd like to introduce the next agenda item. The next agenda item is the Resource Development Trans-Canada Pipeline Revenue Sharing. This is an in-camera session, so I'm going to request that the chiefs make a motion to go in camera. So I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Chief McLeod. Second. Miigwech, Chief Smith. I have a mover and a seconder. I'd like to call a question, or sorry, discussion. Any discussion or questions? I'll call question. Oh. Microphone 4.
Miigwech, Leslie, just to clarify with the new rules, so if I have an advisor, they have to leave the room, or, yeah, is that the Chiefs of Ontario's? I just want to double check, so I'm staying on the, doing
Yeah,
it right.
I'll go through the list here again. Those